Happy Earth Day! To celebrate, we are going to church inside a rock. The rock churches of Lalibela, Ethiopia are not only beautiful and treacherous to reach, but legend says King Lalibela sculpted these stone monuments in one single night, aided by an army of angels. But going to church is not easy. You climb the steepest of slopes, but in the name of faith, it's truly worth it. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, different. On the show today is a filmmaker going places, a social entrepreneur passionate about tourism, and a drive through the Bangkok International Motor Show. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Subscribe, follow, and like us for more. A huge thank you to our amazing partners on the show, Srilanka Life, CDB, and The Daily Morning.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids and EV vehicles.
So here's what happened over the last week on CDB Snapshot. The overall rate of inflation decreases to 2.5% in March compared to February's 5.1%. Sri Lanka's tax revenue collection exceeds targets by 6% for the first quarter of the year. Sri Lanka's market lending rate falls 22 basis points to 10.41% to a two-year low. Sri Lankan cricket captain Chamari Atapattu secures the top spot at the ICC's ODI batting rankings. Sri Lankan LGBTQ activist Rosanna Flema Caldera is one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people for 2024. Kayakers paddle from Sri Lanka to India for the first time ever in the Adams Bridge 30-kilometer challenge.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. At the Galle Literary Festival this year was an interesting discussion on tourism, featuring, among others, Simon Bell, a social entrepreneur firmly rooted in sustainable tourism, agribusiness, and global strategy. He developed the Global Services Location Index and is a commentator for FT, CNN, and the Wall Street Journal. With tourism burgeoning in Sri Lanka, it is always good to find out from experts if we are selling our destination right. Simon, does Sri Lanka need to rebrand?
The short answer is yes and no. No, in the sense that I think there's too much emphasis placed on branding nowadays, big global brands, Incredible India or whatever. And thanks to social media, thanks to the fragmentation of the media as a whole, the fact that there's so many other thousands of channels to get out there, just having a big poster in Trafalgar Square is no longer enough. And particularly talking about quality and niches, if we want to, go after surf tourists, yachting, tea, trail, hiking, all of the different niches there are, we've got to use different messages with each of those. Having said that, it is true that a good brand somehow makes the country stick in people's head. Creative Korea, Incredible India, Malaysia, Truly Asia, and they do have longevity. Like the Salon Lion logo, you want a brand that's around for 50 years. You don't want to keep on chopping and changing. But we've tried, and as you say, none of them have stuck. And I've been involved in 2 or 3 of them, and I thought 1 or 2 of them were quite good. Because they haven't stuck, I do think we need to keep on trying.
If you look at the overall tourism landscape, what is Sri Lanka's competition?
We are not one monolithic product. We are 100 different products, and our competition completely varies depending on the product. If we're doing cheap package tour, winter sun, which is still a valid market, we're competing with Sharm el Sheikh. If we're talking about yachting, we're competing with places in the Caribbean. If we're talking about long distance trails, we're competing most likely with destinations in Europe, but also in Nepal and so on. And I do well, and even geographically within Sri Lanka, I get so frustrated by the East Coast low season. I was just in the East Coast. Okay, it's low season for the surfers because the waves aren't good, but it was perfect for my 94-year-old mother because the sea was calm and it was lovely. And why aren't we competing with the Maldives on the East Coast during that season of the year? Again, we need to think through our niches and very clearly who we're competing with in each niche.
Simon, Sri Lanka has been named among some of the best destinations to travel to in 2024. Do these labels actually mean anything to the traveller of today?
The degree that surprises me, yes. With our guests who come through Amber Estate, the number of them who said they've chosen Sri Lanka because they happen to notice the Condé Nast or Lonely Planet or whoever, and then they started reading more articles and finding articles in The Guardian and National Geographic and so on. The media still is a big influencer. It needs to be quality media. I mean, there's an awful lot of paid endorsement around the world nowadays where one country, one city, one property, but the consumer can generally see through that and just tell that this is a puff piece. If it comes from a credible source, one of the well-known brands, and it is well written and really begins to give people that image of how amazing Sri Lanka is, it still matters.
And where would you like to see Sri Lanka in the global tourism map?
As an economic development person, I want millions of tourists in this island. We always worry about over-tourism, but there are countries that are much smaller that get many more millions and actually manage to manage them without it feeling overly crowded. We randomly put casinos, large hotels, small hotels, boutique hotels, beautiful eco-resorts, and very sensitive ecosystems all in the same place. If we collectively decide that we want to have a Las Vegas, great. Let's choose it. Let's put it on one peninsula and, make it all happen there. And then let's keep other beaches completely empty just for turtle watching and other beaches for surfing. And let's have a plan that says we want all of these niches, we want quality, and we want to do them in an organized, coordinated way.
And now for a sneak peek at the markets this week. The All Share Price Index at the Colombo Stock Exchange continues steady at near one-year highs, with average daily turnover levels still remaining at a healthy 2 billion rupees. Oil prices were trading at close to $90 per barrel, the highest level seen since October last year, as the worry of Middle East hostilities continue to influence oil markets. Gold prices continue to hold steady at above $2,300 per ounce, yet close to all-time highs reached in the first week of April. Every year, the world uses 5 trillion plastic bags, 199 million tons of plastic is found in the ocean, and 1 million plastic bottles are bought every minute. It's the global scourge of planet versus plastic. Take a stand. Let's reduce 60% of the world's plastic production by 2040 this Earth Day.
He was Shehan Soiza in Deepa Mehta's Oscar-nominated film Funny Boy. The incredibly talented Rehan Mudarnayaka is an artistic force to be reckoned with. Not only is he a magnificent actor, he's also a film director and a former Chevening scholar. His short film The Red Mustang premiered at the 2018 Montreal Film Festival, and Diddy premiered at the 2020 Holly Shorts Film Festival, among many other international platforms. So Rehan is making Sri Lanka proud yet again with his newest short film, So Long Farewell, which he wrote and directed. This short had its world premiere at the Pan-African Film Festival in Los Angeles. And today, Rehan Mudarnayaka is with me on Let's Talk. You've just had your world premiere of So Long Farewell. What do you feel like now?
Oh, I feel like $1 million. It was a real dream come true. It was not only the world premiere of the film, but it was my first time watching a film of my own with an American audience. And American audiences are so expressive. They were responding to lines from the film. They were responding to the actions of the characters, which was just incredibly rewarding as the director.
What is So Long Farewell about?
So Long Farewell is about a middle-aged British Sri Lankan man who's reached a turning point in his life. He's been offered his dream job in the Netherlands, but taking the dream job means leaving his elderly grandmother behind, and his grandmother is his only surviving relative, and she's brought him up. So it's very much about responsibilities we have to ourselves and our careers versus, our families and our culture.
So there's one thing I noticed about your shorts. It always deals with something that's happening around us. What inspires you to get those stories out to people?
With this particular film, I want to write a story about a parent-child relationship and about elder care, because I feel like a lot of Sri Lankans find themselves in these situations, a lot of South Asians, because so much of our life revolves around traveling and living in other countries, because those opportunities may not always be available to us over here. But I thought it might be interesting to flip it on its head and to have a character who grew up in London, leaving London to pursue his dreams, and then being faced with the guilt, and the dilemma of leaving a family member, an elderly family member behind.
Why did you choose short films?
I feel like every filmmaker starts off with short films because they are cheaper to make than features, obviously. So they're good calling cards for producers, for financiers. If they get into festivals and they're spotted, you're more likely to be able to make your feature film. It's also good practice, I think, to start off with shorts. Features cost a lot more money, so you'd be taking a real gamble going straight into your first feature without having done something before that.
So now you were on the other side of the lens when you did Funny Boy. You were an actor and Deepa Mehta the director. What was that experience like?
That was incredibly terrifying. I don't know what compelled her to cast me in that film, because I had no experience whatsoever, unlike my talented cast. I feel like I learned a lot about myself as a director. I feel like I learned how to communicate my own directorial vision more authentically, more respectfully, working under this visionary. It did a lot for my career, and I'm incredibly grateful to her for having me.
What's the best directorial advice you have received?
One quote that really resonates with me is that perfection is the enemy of creativity. You can't overthink these things. And it's important to just kind of keep creating, keep putting your work out there. Don't overanalyze, overthink things.
So if you were doing a short film or if you were doing a feature film, who would be your dream actor that you would cast in it?
I think one of the first people that comes to mind is Julianne Moore. I would love to work with Julianne Moore. One of my all-time favorite actors is sadly dead, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He'd have been a real dream to work with. Gosh, the list goes on. Daniel Day-Lewis, there's too many to name, but Julianne Moore would be my answer.
What's next for you?
I just wrapped filming on a short. I'm also developing a series and working on my feature on the side as well. So there's a lot to keep me busy.
So here's hoping you get your dream actor for your film and that you'll walk the red carpet one day.
It's all about Hot Wheels this week on Life in 60 as we speed into Southeast Asia's biggest vehicle fest, the Bangkok International Motor Show 2024. From hypercars to legends and everything in between, the motor show, spread over an expanse of 76,000 square meters, had 49 automotive and motorcycle brands on show. Car manufacturers from Europe, Japan, the US, China and most of Asia put their best wheels forward, which in most cases saw a merging of technology, lifestyle and lots of pizzazz. And that's not all. Over 20 new car models were launched. Nearly every single brand had their versions of electric vehicles on display, which means the world will definitely be taking their wheels electric in the future. But the most exciting part at the 45th Bangkok International Motor Show was the fleet of supercars. Hypercars which are over $54 billion each, limited editions owned by discerning collectors. Take a trip on the wild side, because if you are passionate about your wheels, this is a trip worth taking. Those are some Hot Wheels, aren't they? Have a great week. We will see you next time.